Hello there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we are going to be covering the Miami Dolphins, specifically a 7-round NFL mock draft. Now, when you look at the Miami Dolphins as a whole, they have some really good cap flexibility heading into the offseason, a couple of key free agents. However, they have $70 million to work with to re-sign some of those guys, and also they can make some big free agent splashes. But, a lot of the core foundation of a roster comes from that draft and hitting on some of those draft picks. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Yes, the Miami Dolphins are going through a coaching change, but the future still is bright for this Dolphins team. This Dolphins roster has some good pieces on it as well. So they can definitely do some damage heading into next season. And, when we look at pick 29, it's crucial for them. Why? Because there's some key areas of needs that they have to look at. One of them being that running back spot, but I'm not going to address it with pick 29. There's some really good running backs that will be in that second and third round range. Specifically, I also look at that offensive tackle spot. So from what we can see here, I think you do have to consider the tackle spot. Nicholas Petitfreur is a big name for me to watch. Really, really good in pass protection. I think that could go a long way in really helping aid the development of Tua. And, Daniel Falele is another interesting option. I think when you look at his measurements coming in at 6'8" and like 375 pounds, I believe was his official. He's a dynamic prospect that could be, huge, huge upside. Right now, I would lean more towards Nicholas Petitfreur. We can also kind of look at the other big board, the collective list that we do have. They have a couple of playmakers out there like Traylon Burks, Jahan Dotson. Could be two guys that really help out Tua. You already have Jalen Waddle in the fold, Devontae Parker, but you can also add a really, really dynamic receiver. I think it's super critical that they continue to address this offensive line, rework it, get it in their image. I think that goes a long ways in helping him out, giving him a little more protection, time to read the defense. So I'm going to go ahead and select Nicholas Petitfreur. I love this for the Dolphins. They're in a really, really good position where they could even potentially trade out of that spot as well. Teams looking to jump up in that first round to pick up that fifth-year option. It's always very, very active during that time. And now we have pick 50 for the Dolphins team. Let's take a look at what is available for this roster. A couple of names that really stick out to me right away. You have Kenneth Walker, you have John Mechie. To me, I think you have to look at Kenneth Walker as being a big draft target. Can be a workhorse back, a guy that can really carry the rock. He's seen quite a bit of volume already, especially this past season. So I want to make sure, sometimes it's a little bit of concern for teams selecting a running back. But when you look at how dynamic and how talented he is, I think he slots in nicely with this Miami Dolphins roster, a team that, wants to be a little more committed to running the football heading into next year. I think if you select Kenneth Walker, it really opens up the door for Tua as well, working him out of play action more and making them a little less one-dimensional. You do have some complementary backs already with this roster as it currently sits, but I think adding a guy like a bell cow back like Kenneth Walker could, really, really go a long way. So I'm going to select him out of Michigan State. Miami Dolphins here addressing their offense. They want to continue to get better on that end of the football. That's why I like what this team can do. You have some flexibility. You can take some risks, and that's kind of where this team sits at currently. So we do address that tackle spot. We address the running back spot. You can definitely think about looking on the defensive side of the ball as well. Emmanuel Ogbah is going to be a free agent. You could look at that edge position potentially. And now we look forward to pick 100 here in that third round. Current guys that are available that might be of interest to us: Damone Clark, Jojo Daman from Nebraska. Jake Ferguson could be an interesting name, but once again, we're happy with where we're at. Hopefully Mike Gesicki gets that long-term extension that he's really craving to get with this team. I think linebacker is probably the spot we have to look, honestly. It's tough to pass up on a guy like Damone Clark, super productive at LSU. He could slot into this team very, very nicely as well. Let's look a little more specifically at that edge spot too. With what's on the board currently, Damone Clark seems like he is the best option. I've watched a lot of LSU football. This guy definitely jumps out on the screen. Always around the football. That's a really nice thing about him. Constantly making plays, and he has a knack for finding that ball. So Damone Clark is going to go here to the Miami Dolphins. We address that defense finally with that third round selection. And now we're moving on into that fourth round. We have pick 117. And let's take a look once again at that collective big board. And if we see here, Marquise Bell is an option here. Jermaine Waller could be another one. Alec Lindstrom. I would actually like Lindstrom in the idea of, once again, continuing to build out that offensive line. You get a tackle, and then you come back with a guard in that fourth round. A guy that's being extremely undervalued, in my opinion. Alec Lindstrom, really solid prospect, good in the run, also talented against the pass rush as well. I'm going to go ahead and select Alec Lindstrom. I think getting that guard is really, really crucial. And now we're able to bounce back here and look at pick 121. I think it's important for them to look at addressing, their overall receiving depth. It's tough with where we're at here. I think of a guy like Justin Ross could be kind of an interesting name. Khalil Shakir from Boise State. That's another name that actually jumps out to me. This is a tough position to pick from. I'm going to go Khalil Shakir from Boise State. He's going to be the guy. Miami gets a little bit of depth at that receiver spot. To me, that's important. That's something that they're going to be addressing in the offseason here, specifically with that draft pick. And now we jump into that fifth round as we continue to watch the simulation unfold before our eyes here. 156 is our next selection. We are in that fifth round. Let's take a look at what the board has provided us. When I look at a Caleb Evans from Missouri, that could be an interesting option, just considering with where we sit. Jason McCourty very well, could be out. It's his contract year. That could be a spot of interest for me personally. Other corners, Matt Hankins could be a good fit, but yeah, Caleb Evans is going to be my guy from Missouri. I think he just fits in best with what we're trying to do here in Miami. Yeah, honestly, I think that's got to be the move. Too talented of a player to still be sitting here, and we're able to pick him up, get some help on that back end, a developmental corner that can hopefully work himself as a full-time starter. Not a ton of pressure right away to necessarily play, but I think, good upside long-term with that selection. And I like what we've done with this Dolphins draft so far as we approach pick 199. And 199 gives us an opportunity to select some depth elsewhere. I think you can look at that edge spot. Jeffrey Gunter's a name. Michael Clemens could be another name as well from Texas A&M. Jeffrey Gunter, it's hard not to look his way. Really, really productive at Coastal Carolina. And I think we're going to go ahead and select him. I mean, you have to look at what this team definitely needs. Edge help is something that you can consider. Sure, they can address that in free agency, but having another drafted player could really go a long ways in the overall depth of what we're trying to build with this front seven. And we also have pick 220, gives us a little bit of flexibility on what we want to try to do at this spot. You could look at a depth tight end. Honestly, I think that should be in the fold. James Mitchell from Virginia Tech, Trey Berry from Boston College. I think I'm going to actually go with Trey Berry from Boston College, just considering, where we're at in the draft. I think this team definitely lacks a little bit of depth at that tight end spot behind Gesicki overall. Bringing a guy like Trey Berry in would not hurt heading into camp. Could definitely see some good reps. Really curious to see what the Miami Dolphins decide to do in this draft. They're one of those teams that can kind of tilt the balance when it comes to some of their selections. I don't really see them making a ton of trade downs aside from that first round. I feel like they're pretty comfortable with where their roster sits. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at what our user picks were once again. He had Pettit Freer in that first round. To me, it's crucial because of how good he is in pass protection. Followed up by Kenneth Walker, a guy that nearly won the Heisman at the running back spot. A terrific athlete, a guy that has good contact balance as well. You pick up Damone Clark, one of the more underrated players in this entire draft, a true foundational piece of that LSU defense. You come back with, once again, Alec Lindstrom on that interior of that offensive line, further strengthen that. Khalil Shakir from Boise State, a big-time contributor for the Broncos there. Caleb Evans from Missouri, Jeffrey Gunter from Coastal Carolina, and then Trey Berry to kind of round out the draft. Overall, it was important to get some depth, but there were some big team needs, glaring team needs that this Dolphins team has. They're really close to being, still competitive and fighting for that AFC East. It's really tough with who they have in their division. However, I just feel like they're pretty close to touching the Patriots in terms of overall roster talent. A couple of other minor tweaks and stuff, and this team is ready to rock and roll. I'm excited to see what happens with the coaching situation. I do appreciate all your guys' support. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Also, leave a like if you did enjoy this Miami Dolphins mock draft. Let me know in the comment section below what team you want me to do next. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we will catch you guys in our next video.